Namaste and a very warm welcome to another impactful episode of Impact Leaders with Simply Suparna. Here we dive deep into conversations with exceptional leaders who are shaping the world for the better. Today, we're honored to have with us someone whose vision and leadership have played a pivotal role in redefining sustainability and circular economies in India. Abhay Deshpande, founder and CEO of Recykal. But before I bring him onto your screens, I'd like to start by invoking the higher power. Shakti has held me in good stead, and I'll start with reciting a very old Sanskrit verse, the Saraswati Vandana. Ya kundendu tushar har dhavala, ya shubhra vastravrita, ya veena varadanda manditakara, ya shweta padamasana, या ब्रह्मचुत शंकर प्रभूति भी दैवै सदा वंदिता सामाम पातु सरस्वती भगवती निशेष जाड्यपहा. Like I said, it's a very old Sanskrit verse. It talks about dispelling the darkness of ignorance that resides in our hearts with the wisdom of light and knowledge. And here I have today, let me bring him onto your screens, Mr. Abhay Deshpande, who has been bringing a lot of light into a lot of spaces which are perceived to be dark. Thank you so much, Mr. Deshpande, Abhay, for doing this for us.
Thanks, Suparna, for inviting me for this chat. Thanks a lot.
Of course, Recykal has been recognized not once but a couple of times for the efforts that they have been doing in the recycling industry, in the waste management industry, and in an industry which is not perceived to be extremely glamorous. Given by your background, you're someone who has been there at literally the forefront of e-commerce when it was just at a nascent stage in India. You've had interactions with Jeff Bezos, no less, who wanted to acquire one of your companies. And here you are in 2025, where all these young, aspirational entrepreneurs are just still dreaming about, maybe even meeting up with Jeff Bezos. And you're focusing all your energies into a sector which people are maybe not even aware of, that something like this can happen. So I want to start from the very first thing. Why is it that you started to do what you started to do with Recykal?
So I think I will take a step back, Suparna. I think my journey of entrepreneurship started around 25 years back. I just completed 25 years in October last year. And long journey, 25 years is not a small period. So I started my journey in 1999 as launched the first e-commerce marketplace of India called malamal.com. And those were not the days where like internet was not everywhere, mobile phones were not there. So it was very early days of the internet or digital businesses. So if I had to recall, I was 10 years ahead of the time to start the business which I started in 1998. I should have started in 2007, 2008. But as you know, for entrepreneurs, Excel sheet is a beautiful product built by any entrepreneur, and you prepare a business plan, and you are a $1 billion company within on the Excel sheet, and then you are excited about it, the opportunity. So we started the journey, and India was not ready. I was 10 years ahead of the time. I ran that company for 7, 8 years. Could not become Malamal from monetary perspective, but learned a lot about entrepreneurship. Did my MBA in entrepreneurship, and I think that 8 years taught me much more than what ISB or Harvard or IIM can teach anyone, frankly. And that it gives you real-time experiences, real-time feelings, investors, customers, every aspect of business. And so based on then I started my second company in 2007, which was a marketplace which was a SaaS company, software as a service company, arguably the first SaaS company of India in 2007. Software as a service was new that time. This time I was 3 years ahead of the time. I was, in fact, 3 or 4 years ahead of the time. Learned a little bit. And those were the days where people were very fond of SaaS B2B, Bahuti wala SaaS. Than the and that was needed that change of mindset, because paying for a software on a monthly basis was not something
Correct.
people heard of before that.
Correct.
So again, bringing that behavioral, first time I tried to bring a behavioral change amongst the consumer to shop online. Then I need to bring a behavioral change amongst the businesses to really pay for a software on a monthly basis, on a rental basis. So that was a decently successful. 2007 to 2015, I ran that company, and subsequently it got acquired by Capillary Technologies in 2015. So that 18 years of almost 99 to 2015 was a 17 years of entrepreneurial journey where I have seen
Correct.
everything, all ups and downs, more downs and less ups. But it was a great learning and no regrets. Early days of entrepreneurship, when I started, there was only one fund in the country, the venture
Mm,
fund. I met the first meeting, and they
mm,
used to ask how many visitors you have, what is your rating. All those were the criteria to fund the company, not
mm,
the business. Literally wanted to do something which was more impactful this time because I think made decent fortunes out of the first second exit, which I did. So I became a accidental investor, invested in a couple of startups in Hyderabad. Then next thing which I wanted to do was do something which is more. This was time very clear that we wanted to build something which is has an impact on day-to-day life of millions of people or billions of people, and something where that instinct of entrepreneur felt that waste management looks like a interesting opportunity, and it is still informal, cash driven, very dirty. The people who are working in that segment are exploited a lot, and all that understanding we took, and we said, can we bring some disruption and formalize this industry to some extent? And that's where whole recycle journey started in 2016.
Okay, so we already have some of your followers who are congratulating you for your efforts in waste management, and I think probably I can highlight that. There is somebody from Jalandhar, Punjab, who is saying best wishes from Ravinder Talwar. But I want to understand from you before we go any further, why waste management? I mean, you've been a part of this entire journey as an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, I think one thing is for certain that you've got to be extremely courageous with what you're doing. While money can be a driving force, but when you've actually seen the downs more than the ups, then you definitely would want to experiment with something more glamorous, right? Something more aspirational. And one would imagine that a sector that you are in, at least from a popular narrative, is not very aspirational. So we'll get to that as well. But I want to understand, what was your trigger into getting into this?
Yeah, as I said, I did e-commerce for 8 years, and then did e-commerce was a definitely a glamorous space. Although it was early in its journey, software as a service was again definitely very glamorous because your target customers are the enterprise customers. But when it comes to after doing that for 16, 17 years and all the learnings which I personally had, we thought, can we use these learnings to really solve some real life problem rather than doing something new, disruptive? There are opportunities, there will be opportunities. Our entrepreneur always look for the opportunities which are still not tapped. With me, always there was a challenge that when I started e-commerce in 98, it was the first e-commerce company. 99, when it was the first e-commerce company. When I started the SaaS, then it was the first SaaS company of India. So there was no one to follow. I always had that habit of getting into something which was not explored by anybody else. So the similar trend happened here when the I started thinking, looking at around, and I felt that somewhere that instinct. I was studying what these spaces are, and there are some companies like Ramkey, Anthony Ways. There are multiple companies in this space. I found that they are doing a decent job, but there is something more need to be done. Something more disruptive is required, and that's where that instinct, purely an instinct of entrepreneur, that this looks like a big problem to solve, this looks like is impacting. Although those days in 2016, ESG, sustainability, circular economy were not the buzzwords, definitely not.
Correct.
It
Correct.
was a kachariya dhanda, simple, it was a kachariya dhanda. So we felt that something can be done here, something. This is we I saw during that when I was doing the study of the space, we went to many people. We went to rat pickers, meet kabadi walas. We realized that there is a lot of money, but the kind of exploitation which is happening at the people at the bottom of the pyramid, right,
Mm,
is too much. And then one data point came in front of me that 1.5% of India's population gets food every day because somebody in their family is working in waste management, right? Might be in recycling, might be in collection, might be in export, might be anything related to the waste management. It's a very large space, although that data is not available anywhere. There is no data about waste. It is just an extrapolation done by some agencies. They go and do a research of one colony, 500 houses, and say 25 grams plastic generated by every family every week. So we and then extrapolate it to 1.4 billion people. Those are the kind of data available there. That shows that India generates 60 million metric tons of waste every year. But in fact, the number can be double because there's no authentic data available. Right? There's no system in place. The municipalities doesn't have information. They just do it as one responsibility. This is not my job. This is not at my backyard. Everybody has a feeling that not at my backyard.
Correct.
Just put it, dump it. Somebody will take and dump it somewhere. But it was impacting the environment, and there was a huge loss of resources, and that's what we realized. So let's try solving it. Although it was a very large, very tough problem. It was informal segment, cash-driven economy, so-called mafia in this. So not easy decision to make, but we said entrepreneur को कुछ ऐसे ही करना चाहिए जो कोई नहीं करता है. And then that's where I think
Where were you based at that time? Were you in Hyderabad, in Pune?
Hyderabad,
In
Hyderabad.
Hyderabad.
I have been always, these are 25 years of my entrepreneurship I have done in Hyderabad only.
So
Although
I
I'm from
remember at one point in time, Bangalore, there was a huge problem, and I think that still exists, but still there are some streamlinings which are happening as far as trash is concerned. And I think probably now, even at the national capital region that I am in, there is a mandate that wet and dry waste need to be segregated at the source and not necessarily going to wherever. Now, I don't know, even though I segregate it at home, how is it collected? Because I'm told that ultimately it goes and gets mixed up again.
Yeah, so I think it's not a problem of Bangalore or Delhi. The problem is everywhere. So,
Mm.
except a couple of cities like Indore, where we have seen large scale behavioral change happening amongst the consumer. See, the challenge is not with the infrastructure, challenge is not with the intent. Thankfully, after 2000, all this, if you have to really solve the waste problem, it need a large scale behavioral change. It's not a problem of infrastructure. You can put centers, you can put technology, machines to sort the waste, to recycle the waste. Everything is available. The challenge is at the source. Challenge is at the source. The behavior of a consumer towards waste is still waste. Like they look at it as a, they don't look at it that differently. They just put it in dustbin, as you rightly said, dry waste segregation. They might be doing small percent, single digit percentage might be, not more than that. But what has happened that 2014 onwards, after the launch of Swachh Bharat mission, there is definitely a decent amount of awareness got built in the generation which was in school those days. So, for
Correct.
example, my daughter doesn't litter today, but I was never trained for that. I still look at left, right, and I do something. I still throw a bottle on the road because I'm to bring that behavioral change in me. It's a much larger effort than I can do it at the school level. So today's generation, which is like in 2014, which were in class 5, class 6, because that was a part of their curriculum. They were trained, they were made aware about it. So next generation, and this needs a generation change. Either it has to wait for a generation of 30 years to bring that change, or you need to have some solutions which are disruptive enough to really bring that large behavioral change among the consumer. And recycle has been doing that to an extent to really bring that the mass behavioral change of the consumer at every aspect of the waste, whether it is plastic, whether it is metal, whether it is e-waste, whether it is batteries, and waste is everywhere. What we learned during the pandemic, I will just do that waste is a never ending opportunity. Never waste is everywhere. Waste is a pandemic free and decision free opportunity. Because
So
even
with so much information, my head is buzzing right now with so many things. But we'll start from the fact that what is it that Recycle does?
right, so recycle basically has three verticals of business. The central vertical which we have is a marketplace where it's a digital platform where we connect the informal aggregators, kabadiwalas, with the formal recyclers, the recyclers who are doing the actual recycling, who are registered with Pollution Control Board, who are formal enough, right? And we provide them a platform to know each other, and they list their products, what is the quantity available, then they get multiple buyers for that, and the transaction happens on our system. We take care of discovery, buyer seller discovery. We take care of logistics, and we take care of the payment for any B2B marketplace which you must have seen, right? That's our central business. We have 3 4 thousand sellers. We have 600 buyers across India from all parts of India, right? And these are like registered with us with proper KYC, proper everything. So that's a central piece of business for us, and we keep on getting more and more customers there. The second piece which we have is a sustainability vertical, where we work with large corporates. We work with companies, any company you name in India, we must be working with them. And we help them in achieving their ESG sustainability goals to some extent. Because if you look at if you look at large companies and they have taken their goals of becoming net zero or becoming sustainable or becoming circular. Many companies have announced their intent of becoming zero landfill companies by say 2030, 2040. But how do you do that?
Hmm.
Right? So there has to be a process or a platform or a technology to track that it is happening. So we
Hmm.
build multiple solutions for these companies and deploy those technology solutions and help them in connecting with the marketplace. So all that systems, we are working with almost 650 enterprise customers across India. That's
Hmm.
how sustainable. They pay a certain platform fees for every transaction which they do with us. So that's the second piece of business which we
Hmm.
have. That has been established in last 5 years, and it has scaled a lot. The third business and third vertical which we have, which is going to be a future vertical and game changer for us, is the deposit return system. That's where I was talking about this mass behavioral change. So we have built a technology platform, digital technology and platform, to really implement the deposit return system at a state level.
Hmm.
So, for example, you take example, we started this journey around 5 years back, build a platform, build those reverse vending machines. It's a very simple concept. And I will give example, like for example, in Kedarnath, 4 years back, Modi ji spoke about the littering in Kedarnath on Man Ki Baat. At the same time, the local district magistrate reached out to us that because it was a shame for him that the prime minister is speaking about it on the national channel. So he reached out to us, can you help me in solving this? And we went there. We did a first implementation of DRS in India. From Rudraprayag to the temple, that 20 kilometers cycle was completely covered. And we said any container, plastic bottle sold inside, water bottle, cold drinks, there will be a deposit of 10 rupees. A 20 rupee bottle, 10 rupee deposit. And there was a unique QR code printed on all the containers there. And I, as a consumer, went there. Earlier, I used to buy a water bottle, consume and throw it, litter it. But now I have paid 20 rupees plus 10 rupee deposit, 30 rupees. So I'm conscious about it. And then you return the bottle, you get your 10 rupee back through UPI or cash. Simple. I don't have any, it is just that polluter pay and polluter has to be conscious about it. And it's about bringing that behavioral change. And we
So
saw that
DRS, what does DRS stand for?
deposit return system.
Deposit return. So something like this has now also been executed or is going to be executed with a Mahakum.
Mahakum is not there at this time because it needs a controlled environment and it need to be a state level initiative. Kedarnath was a pilot, was the first project we did. Then we extended it to Kedarnath, Badrinath. All the Char Dhams in Uttarakhand are running on it right now. And we have collected almost like first year we collected on 160,000 bottles in 2 months. Next year almost 500,000 bottles, and it is numbered growing every year. So there, because I have paid 10 rupees, I'm conscious about it. My behavior has changed. I stopped littering. I kept the bottle inside my bag or something and started looking for collection points or machines where I can put this bottle and get my money back. That
Super.
now has become and we got a national award for that 2 years back by honorable president for one of the biggest innovation. And then it got it catches the eyes of many state governments, and now a couple of state governments are in advanced stage of implementing it. And if it goes well, then the whole state, for example, case of Uttarakhand or any other state, every product sold in that state will have a deposit of 2 rupees or 5 rupees. And then what happens, that brings a behavioral change. Today what happens, I cut a Maggie packet and I dump it in dustbin. As soon as there is a 2 rupee deposit, I have paid 10 rupee for a Maggie packet and 2 rupee deposits. I'm conscious about it. Have we thrown a newspaper in dustbin any time in our life? Never. We
No,
read a
no.
newspaper, and it is done by the billionaires also. They read a newspaper, keep it aside, and every kg, 9 rupees kg only we are getting for last 20 years. But we still don't throw it in dustbin because our minds are trained. As soon as there is a 2 rupee deposit on multi-layer plastic, it will go in. Every house will have a cardboard box. We'll start collecting all the plastics into that. We'll stop putting it into the dustbin, and at the end of the month, either them or their domestic help will go and return it and get the money out of it.
So what I'm hearing from you is that people actually, I don't know how you manage to do this, because as it is, somebody who's buying a packaged drinking bottle would be paying this much amount, and almost like a 50% extra he or she has to pay for it. So obviously there is a certain kind of a convincing which happens. And I think in a way it is also feeding into the EPR, right? The extended producer responsibility. So they are the ones who then probably collected. Is that how you link the whole process?
Yes, it is. A DRS is nothing but a child of EPR, right? This is a way of fulfilling your EPR obligation for a brand, but this comes with a policy. Government, it's a state government topic, and it is not new. If you look at, there are 68 countries and states across the world have implemented it. Germany, the collection ratio is 97%, right? So it brings that behavioral change. And even if I throw the bottle, somebody who is picking it will get the money. So the rat pickers also, earlier he was making 20 paisa out of one bottle, he will start making 10. In Kedarnath, the pittu walas are making 400 rupees, 300 rupees per day. Those guys who are picking the bottles. Still, there are badshahs who still throw the bottle. Somebody is picking it. He is just returning the bottle and getting the money back. So I think
Right.
that means that behavioral change, and we are very confident. We as Indians, we only change our behavior for two things: fear or greed, right? We don't want to change. We're happy at the fence. We don't want to come inside. We are only coming inside if there is a fear or a greed. I think this brings those fear as well as greed. I'm losing my 10 rupees and I have greed of getting my 10 rupees back. And we have seen that working very well. And even in my childhood, I used to buy those thumbs up bottle of a glass bottle. I used to keep some deposit there. It was informal. Even Tirupati today, if you go, you have to have informal deposit system there. You buy a bottle, you have to keep the 10 rupees there, and then wherever you have to go back to the shop, give the bottle back, you'll get 10 rupees.
You know what, Abhay? I think the country that we belong to, somewhere or the other, had everything in its place, which was correct and in alignment with the environment. You know, it's
Correct.
over a period of development, so to speak, that we call, that we tend to kind of waver. Because, like you rightly mentioned, I think ever since I've grown up, I've always seen my mother, my grandmothers, you know, एक लिफाफा भी बाहर से आता है ना, तो उसको फोल्ड करके हम रख लेते हैं, चाहे उसका हमको पैसा मिले ना मिले, लेकिन उसको रीयूज जरूर कर लेंगे हम. वैसे ही, यू नो, इवन इन टर्म्स ऑफ जो न्यूज़पेपर है वगैरह, कुछ रैप करने के लिए और कुछ नहीं तो शीशा साफ करने के लिए, यू नो, इट्स ऑलवेज देयर, दैट काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग. फिर हमारे पत्तल थे जो, यू नो, उससे बनते ही पत्तों से थे, तो प्लास्टिक का तो वो मतलब ही नहीं था, एंड थिंग्स लाइक दैट. सो आई थिंक थोड़ा सा मिट्टी पड़ गई है, जैसे सोलर पैनल्स के ऊपर मिट्टी पड़ जाती है ना, उसको साफ करते रहना पड़ता है, तो उस तरीके से मिट्टी पड़ गई है.
थोड़ा कंजम्पशन पावर बढ़ा है, टाइम चेंज हुआ है, काफी पैसा आया है. आई रिमेम्बर माय मदर यूज्ड टू क्लीन दोस मिल्क पाउचेस एवरी डे, पानी से साफ करके सब बंडल बना के बेचते थे. देयर यूज्ड टू बी एवरी डे आफ्टरनून दैट लेडी यूज्ड टू कम एवरी वीक, सैटरडे फ्राइडे, बर्तन लेके पुराने कपड़े ले जाती थी. वो सिस्टम.
हाँ, एग्जैक्टली. इमेजिन, आई मीन, आई डोंट थिंक एनीवेयर इन द वर्ल्ड इट वुड बी कि आपको नया बर्तन मिल रहा है, कि आप पुराना कपड़ा दे रहे हो तो बर्तन मिल रहा है, मतलब सोचो.
दैट इज अ बार्टर सिस्टम व्हिच वाज वेरी वेरी फेमस. बट अभी क्या हुआ है कि आज की जनरेशन को तो हर हफ्ते में वो मिंत्रा पे और फ्लिपकार्ट पे कपड़े ले रहे हैं, 3 बार पहनते हैं, राइट? हमारे जमाने में फादर की पैंट ट्रेलर होके हमको मिलती थी. तो दोज डेज हैव चेंज नाउ, राइट? पीपल आर दैट people's mindset towards things are also changing. There more consumption is happening, more consumable income they have, so things are changing. But at the same time, one thing I have learned that कितना भी कुछ हो जाए, there is nothing called waste in our country. हमारे पास हर चीज का वैल्यू चाहिए. आप दुनिया में देखोगे, if you look at so a lot of people ask me कि please tell us where is the, when investor used to ask me कि इस तरह का मॉडल, where is there any other place we have seen this kind of model? I said the whole psychology is different. There, Europe में I am ready to pay $20 per month to clear my backyard. I pay
Correct.
money, right?
Correct.
Come to India, I need 10 rupees kg for my paper. I need 8 rupees kg for this. I need कपड़ा भी देना है, तो मुझे पैसा चाहिए, मुझे बर्तन चाहिए उसके अगेंस्ट. So for me, our psychology is that we don't have anything called waste. Everything is a resource for us, and that we expect value out of it.
Correct.
And I think that has also helped. That is the ecosystem we have. So we need a different kind of solution. And unfortunately, आप देखोगे तो we treat every waste differently. Like I was telling you, newspaper. We never throw newspaper in dustbin. right? It is always kept newspaper, kitabe, books, सब रद्दी पेपर में जाते हैं. We know that we don't throw it in dustbin. If you look at plastic, our behavior is we just put it in dustbin as soon as we can. And if you look at e-waste, that is third category, it's a
Correct.
legacy waste. वो 2000 का नोकिया का 110 फोन भी मेरे ड्रॉवर में नहीं पड़ा होगा. There will be a
Correct.
mouse, there will be keyboard, because हमारे पास वो perceived value है उसका कि I have bought it for 20,000 rupees, it is still 20,000 rupees. The e-waste challenge is that it is lying at people's houses more, and it will become a that is, so every waste has it needs a different solution for different kind of waste. If one solution doesn't fit all.
No, no, e-waste is a huge challenge in itself. I don't know if how Recycle is actually focusing, because our conversations with the earlier SABERA awardees, I'm told, and I don't know if the practice still exists, that developed economies have been dumping their e-waste here, because again, there is a certain kind of a value, whether it's gold or whether it's whatever it is within, those boards, etc., which are dumped here, and it's extremely hazardous, for the people who are actually dismantling those things also. So, in the name of, and this is the hypocrisy of developed economies, I feel. You'll say that I'm very sustainable and I'm very conscious of my wages and all, and you'll have sweatshops in Bangladesh and other, countries.
Right.
Similarly, that you're e-waste free and all, and you're going to be dumping that to, lesser economies or lesser developed economies. So
Correct.
is that I think there is a mandate as far as the country India is concerned, wherein we said no, we're not going to be accepting, but there are still backdoor entries that kind of find their way as far as
Officially, it is banned.
Hmm.
The e-waste is banned. Even plastic waste also is banned for last couple of years. It was there. It was allowed few years back, but now it is banned. Backdoor entries happens for everything. That doesn't mean under the refurbishing, under something they
Yeah.
bring it back. But still, it is very well. So the whole intent of that was to that local collection should happen, local recycling should happen, and recycling is a big opportunity.
Hmm.
Because if the plastic is collected and recycled, see, the need of the hour is that we can't consume the new resources every time. We need to bring the old resources into circular economy. We have to reuse them. We have to, otherwise,
Correct.
the limited the planet Earth has, right? The Mother Earth has limited resources, and those, unless we that behavioral change amongst everyone happens and we start really consuming and reusing it again, it is not going to sustain long. The next or next to next generation might not have resources to survive also. So that is the issue where this whole circular economy focus has come, and thanks to pandemic, in fact, right, it was a blessing in disguise for the companies like us, where people really realized the value of the climate, right, value of the planet. Till then everybody was in their own silo, in their own egos. I am this, I am that. But that pandemic has taught everyone that you are nothing. You
Hmm.
are a small 0.00001% factor of the world. You
True.
might be a CEO of a company, but nothing matters. You have to sit at home when the things happens. So I think, and that brought a lot of change. Then the outcome was the ESG came in, sustainability became a buzzword, which was more a boardroom discussion now, which has gone beyond the boardroom, and people are now started asking.
Tell me, I'm cutting you in between. Has it really become part of the DNA of the companies, while there are mandates, while there are every year there is maybe compliance, etc.? Is it just a tick mark? I feel heartened a little bit. At least a few of the large companies are taking it seriously. But do you think this has trickled down?
Not really. I will say that definitely a big change since 2021, 22, post pandemic. I can tell you that, and I can see that because we work with many of these companies, so I can see that change. Number one. Number two, it's still focused towards the large enterprises and multinational companies. They are conscious because they have the global ambition. People are asking
Correct.
questions. But the domestic enterprises and mostly the Lala driven companies, which are mostly done by a single operator, are still it's a technique. Right.
Correct.
Earlier it was 100% greenwashing or 99% greenwashing. Now I will say it is 94% greenwashing, 6% is there. But that change also is decent enough,
Huge.
because I tell everyone that whatever big recycle can become, whatever we can bring, we cannot solve this problem during our lifetime. This is the 90 India's 99% recycling, dumping, everything happens. If I could make 10% of India's waste in, let's say, next 3 4 years, that itself is a big achievement, because it's not easy to bring that behavioral change. And behavioral change is required at the board level, at the CEO level, at the procure. The problem is that the CEO talks big language. He said, I wanted to be a plastic free by 2030. Okay. I wanted to do this, I want to do that. And then you go with a solution to a procurement guy. He want a paper at 500 rupees per kg.
Correct.
500 rupees per kg. How will this
Correct.
happen? Right? He's talking big things. He's saying he was my KRA is to save money for the company. He's talking his
Correct.
KRA. He wanted to become green. So that is the
Exactly.
gap. But I'm seeing that change. I am not negative about it. Last 3 years, there are voluntary actions happening from large many companies who wanted to be really sustainable. Although one thing is very clear and everybody has to accept it, that sustainability is costly. Sustainability is
Correct.
not cheap.
Correct.
Sustainability is not cheap. Somebody has to pay it. Whether it is
Hmm.
company, whether it's a consumer, whether it is a guy, somebody has to pay it. And if you want to see a, but again, as you know, that the things takes time to really get adopted. But I'm very positive that next 2 decades belongs to sustainability, and most of the brands will turn to be sustainable, try to make their products sustainable by in their supply chain during the manufacturing process. There are serious intents, and then this whole industry will get formed in next decade or two. Don't expect miracles in 2 years, but time lagega.
And we started out with the fact that the waste management industry, as unglamorous as it sounds, it's, I think, if we look at just recycle, it's 1,200 crores. I mean, that is not a small number by any means. And you're saying that this is just a drop in the ocean?
Absolutely, it's a very large opportunity. Supurna, as I say, when we entered this space, we were not aware that it's so large. We know that it's large, but it's so large. But when we went inside and we really looked at the last 6 7 years or 8 years which we have spent in this space, we realized that it's very very large industry, because unfortunately there was no data available. It was majorly done through informal, and there were multiple tailwinds which got formed at a perfect time, like the government policies and regulations came in terms of EPR. The ESG sustainability focus of the company started. That is another tailwind. Pandemic happened, consumer also became conscious. At least single digit percentage consumer became conscious about sustainability and climate. All these tailwinds actually came together, and that actually started igniting this space. Again, this is, as I said, this is ocean, drop in the ocean, but that ocean is not Maldives ocean. It is not a blue ocean, clean ocean. This ocean has sharks, it has crocodiles. So getting out of a drop out of that also is not an easy job to do. You need to expert to do that. You need to spend a lot of sleepless nights to make it happen. But the opportunity does exist.
And do you
There is
still feel that there is a lot of work that you can do, and especially, being at the helm of Recycle, and having created an impact, which the government, the state level governments, and with the national award under your wing, you still feel that there is a certain amount of policy advocacy that can, maybe shift that needle from 94% to another 92%, with companies taking it more seriously.
absolutely. I think the biggest tailwind in this space is the policy, government policies and government focus. That is, see, even today, this EPR, as I tell you, we were speaking about EPR. EPR has every potential to make this informal 95% informal industry to 70% informal industry, 25% can be formalized. It has every ingredients to make it happen, but only if it is implemented in its true spirit.
Mm.
If it is a tick mark, if it is a tick
Correct.
mark, then nothing will happen, right? Then
Mm.
nothing will happen. But again, every policy, everything we bring evolves through a process. Initially,
And
people
that
will
can
find
only happen when agencies like Recycle can connect with these companies or multinationals. Like, for example, I know for a fact that, the cartons that are produced, that are actually taken back and created furniture of, and things like. So, are you also, focusing on what is the solution that you can provide to the companies?
For example, now I will give you one example. I was talking about DRS, right? Deposit return system. Now, if the DRS gets implemented at a state level, imagine for a second. Now, there is a new policy of CPCB and under EPR only, that next year onwards, every brand has to use 20% recycled content into their packaging, right? So, if I'm making a water bottle, I have to have a 20% recycled content and 80% virgin,
Got
right?
it. Got it.
Now, how do I get that content? If I need a quality content, right? Because it's my packaging. I need to be conscious about it, right? I need a
Right.
quality material. Now, if I get a material which is coming from a dustbin and then going through 6, 7 different hands and then coming to recycling, actually it is going to get contaminated, spoiled, and a lot of value is going to go in the value chain.
Correct.
In DRS, what happens? You as a consumer went to Uttarakhand, consume the water bottle. As it is, you have put the bottle in the machine.
Mm.
It's like a
Mm.
virgin bottle. It's
Correct.
no contamination, best quality.
Correct.
Now I can
Correct.
use that, the recycler can use that bottle to make the content which is really can be used in the bottle again.
Mm.
That is the
Mm.
real change. So I feel that those disruptions are required, and our solutions will help subsequently to really make
Mm.
it happen.
So we
So
have a
there is
question for you. Sorry, here we have a question. There is Ramesh Malia who's asking, how can Recycle help achieve ESG targets and reducing carbon footprint? I know it's a very generic kind of a question, but let's let's address this.
no, so I think what we do, we work with the brand in. See, if you look at ESG emissions, and if you look at globally, it's a 2.5 trillion opportunity. The circular economy is a 2.5 trillion opportunity, and if the whole world becomes, I can give you one context and number. If whole world becomes circular, every bottle is recycled and reused again. For example, I'll give you an example. Or every material, GHG emissions can come down by 50%. Right, 50%. It's not small. Now, the whole India, we are not even 5% circular yet. So now,
Hmm.
if that circularity gets established in the consumer, in the this will definitely have a huge impact on the GHG emissions and the carbon
Hmm.
footprint. So I think that
Hmm.
is the uh, for a particular company, we can always do the calculation and show that this is what we have impacted for you. We also talk about our impact because what we have
Hmm.
helped the company to create. But many
Hmm.
times it's a more Excel sheet game. But the reality is that if the circularity is established broadly, even
Hmm.
at the world level, at the country level, if we become 100% circular, current GHG emission can come down by 50%.
Hmm. 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 I think what you have done with DRS, I think that is a game changer. If that were to be implemented probably in every state and every district, I think that in itself can and kind of bring about a lot of change, not only with the littering, but also in terms of collection, in terms of recycling, circularity, all of it. It ticks all the marks. I think
You
that would.
you you mark my words. If all the 36 states in India implements DRS, 5 years after that, you'll not find waste trash on roads. You'll not find all these dump yards filled with plastic and paper. Mark my
Mm,
words.
mm,
Because when there is a value chain, when there is an ecosystem, there is a behavioral change, things will change
mm.
completely. And you
Yeah.
can see, like Hyderabad, like Singapore, because there's no bottle on the road, there is no everything can be. See now, if you look at government also started with plastic policy.
Mm,
Then they got e-waste in under EPR.
mm,
Recently, they got used oil. Now they got metal cans and glass also. So everywhere we'll able to have EPR. Similarly,
mm,
same thing is implemented for DRS also. Glass bottle also will have a DRS. Metal also will have a DRS.
mm,
I know that at the end of the day, whatever I'm consuming, if I really return it, I don't have any penalty. The 5 rupees I
mm,
have given, I will get my 5 rupees back.
mm.
Right? I don't have any penalty.
So we have another question. Does Recycle offer solution for managing contaminated plastics such as shampoo bottles with residual liquid moisturizer bottles, etc.?
So, to answer this question, Recycle is more an ecosystem player, as you must have seen our business. What we do, suppose partner. We have many partners who deal in this. They get this plastic, they process it, and do recycling or downcycling or upcycling or cleaning. There are some partners we have who reuse it. We are
Mm,
working with one of the partner who gets this paint boxes, large paint dabbas, and then clean it. He has built a patented technology to really clean it and give it back to the company again, like Pidilite or Asian Paints and all that stuff. Because that's the reuse target also people have. So we have partners. We do the toughest job.
mm,
Everybody, I can put a factory. I can have a cleaning process for shampoo bottles. What she was asking about, right?
mm,
What I need is supply. Where do I get the
mm,
material? The
mm.
biggest challenge in the waste management industry is the consistent and quality supply.
Correct.
All
I
are
think in the
together.
past, wherein PET bottles were not adopted by these soft beverages companies, with the water bottling plant, the biggest challenge was to keep it clean. While it's a perfect example for reutilizing, and you don't need to put the plastic PET bottle every time into the dump yard, but the whole process, and I think there were issues in cleanliness and hygiene as far as that is concerned, also.
Right.
Um, we also have another question here. I hope, Prema, your question was answered. Ayush Jain is asking, what incentive does a kabadi wala get? I mean, that's an important aspect that I missed addressing. I think you should address that also. Selling at your platform to formal recycle.
Two things. Today, most of these kabadi walas are been working with one or two recyclers or aggregators. For example, the kabadi wala doesn't work with recyclers directly because its capacity might be 4 metric tons or 3 metric tons. So he doesn't get access even to the recycler. He generally sells it to. So there are, as I said, there are 6, 7 people in that value chain. Kabadi wale ke upar there is an aggregator, then there is a super aggregator and all that stuff. What happens? This kabadi wala will be able to sell to the recycler directly through our platform. So in Hyderabad, suppose there are 200 kabadi walas on our platform. Each one has a 3 metric ton material. So they list it there. We aggregate it together as a technology platform, and the recycler gets a 10-ton truck only, but from 3 people. The collection, distributed ecosystem and supply chain we build. The advantage for the kabadi wala too, one is he get better price, payment on time, no confusion. It's very clean, clear, and completely complied, GST complied. Because in our system, the biggest challenge in the waste management industry is the non-complied approach of the business, and they work with us. We were able to give them the that compliance aspect support, registration with GST, proper filing, and everything. So for them, it's a first step towards becoming formal, along with a better income and more option to sell. They are today they work with one or two guys. If they come to our platform, they have 50 recyclers to sell the material. More choice, more better pricing.
And this is accessible throughout, say, for example, a kabadiwala in my society would want to get onto the platform. He or
Yes,
she isn't able to do that.
yes, yes, absolutely. Only thing they have to do that they need to be complied. We are in as a recycler as a company. One policy we follow that zero tolerance with compliance. So I will tell you, we if 100 people reach out to us a week to become buyer or sellers, 75% gets rejected because their GST records and their compliance records are not good. We don't want to deal because we want it to be a clean, complied business. Every buyer we help them offline to become more compliant when they have reached that stage. But we have built our in-house system where as soon as we put a PAN card of any business, we get the whole biodata. What has happened, because that is a GST particularly is a bigger threat here, and we would like to make sure that the whole process is compliant.
Which brings me to a natural question in terms of it's an extremely unorganized kind of a sector, and they would be an important stakeholder in your ecosystem. So are you also doing things to maybe apprise them, inform them, empower them, as an important part of your ecosystem?
Huge, because they are our sellers. They are the formalizing these guys is our in the marketplace side. Formalizing this informal is our main job.
Hmm.
Giving them awareness, making them educated, making them even in some cases providing them the infrastructure like billing machines, the sorting machines. Also, we have gone and done this to
So
empower
Ajay,
them.
yes, yes. Ajay Dabar wants to ask you your opinion on compostable bags. And I have an opinion, and I will reserve that for now, but I would like to understand your, he also asks what challenges in recycling when it's mixed with LDPE. First, of course, the expanded form of LDPE.
No, no. So I think the challenge, Ajay, here is uh, your question is what about the compostable?
Compostable or biodegradable packaging. What is LDPE, by the way, for my information as well?
Now, if you ask me the technical long form, I will also be struggling to explain that.
Maybe Ajay can tell us what LDPE
But
is. Yes.
so see, HDP, LDP, PET, these are like all. But if you look at LDP is all. I'm clear it is about the milk packets which we are talking about. Those are generally LDP material which is used there. Now, biodegradable is still evolving. My answer to that question is that biodegradable packaging, compostable and biodegradable is still evolving. Definitely, that has a potential, but it is not yet evolved at a scale. People are still doing experiments on that side. Like you're telling Suparna that somebody is making a bench out of the plastic packaging. Those are just experiments. Like only 100 kgs used and made a bench on a 60 million metric
No,
ton.
so my approach to this is a bench is still usable, but when you talk about actually the marketing effect of saying that this is compostable or this is biodegradable, I think it's doing more harm than it's doing. I'll be very, very honest about this because I have been working with the sustainable menstrual hygiene sector, and I'm told that as much as you can say a sanitary pad is biodegradable, it will have an element of plastic in it, and you
Absolutely.
cannot and the minute or the microplastic actually gets into the soil and into the food ecosystem. That's even worse than actual solid plastic that you can see from your eyes. So this whole thing is a bit of an ESG washing, to be honest. It's not really there is nothing called 100% biodegradable as of now, and whatever they claim to be 90%, they're doing more harm to the environment than actually doing good.
I agree with you. Subhra. This has to be rather than, so those are options where the for example the MLP is non-recyclable. Assume for a second. Rather than MLP, if I'm using biodegradable, I'm reducing the impact a bit, right? If I use a multi-layer plastic as a packaging bag, it cannot be recycled. Only can be burned. But at the same time, I will say that more, if we can have, even the PET is not bad, even the HDP is not bad. Only thing, if it is getting collected and getting recycled properly. That's so I will my statement will be the plastic is not bad, the littering is bad. The ecosystem which is required, and there is no option. If you ask me what is the option today, if there is an option, if you use glass, there was a in Tirupati, for example, that they started using glass. They stopped using plastic bag, banned plastic. Today, for a one truck water which comes there has around 3,000 bottles in one truck. If it was a plastic, it was 12,000 bottles or 20,000 bottles because the space which it took. Then empty bottles has to go back again to get refilled. That's a double cost. If you look at the overall carbon emission which was created due to that, is much higher than using the plastic. If they had a DRS kind of thing there and collection happens 95%, the problem is solved. It can be recycled. There is an ecosystem to 100% recycled plastic multiple times. So I think the challenge is not, and this is again a debatable topic where we can speak for hours and hours that whether
Yeah, I know.
biodegradable
And I
is.
think with the next question, we'll wrap it up because I think Ramesh is very, very fiery and feisty with this, and he's calling it like it is. Single-use plastic laws in India is just for corruption and fund collection opportunities for pollution boards, babus. How can it be enforced holistically?
Very, very, very tough to enforce it. Every pani puri wala, every chai wala, every pan dabba, that is the only material they use, and there is no option for them. There is no substitute for them. You talk about cloth papers, you talk about this thing. It's a national policy to ban single-use plastic. It's not the local pollution control board has decided. It is a national policy, state policy. But at the end of the day, it's not possible to ban it in such a way unless there is a option B available. There's no option
Correct.
B at least visible in the near future, sir.
Correct. Correct. Unless, of course, we go back to our pattals. I mean, that was the most, the only thing.
Today's world of 10 minutes delivery, nobody
Uh,
will go back there. Please
okay.
accept that reality also.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's absolutely true. And I think while there are a lot of challenges, we're on the right track. Recycle is on the right track in terms of creating innovative products in alignment with state governments, and most importantly, how we ourselves as individuals can change our own mindsets towards single use plastics, towards waste, towards litter. Thank you so much, Abhay, for whatever you're doing with Recycle. I think that's amazing. The fact that if there are people out there who may want to get into the sector, here is an opportunity also for you to connect with, innovators like Abhay, who can probably mentor you, who can guide you. And I think if there is a way to get in touch with you, probably the best way would be to write to you, or log on to your website, which I've put down below on the ticker. And you also offer opportunities for mentorship, for volunteerism. If somebody wants to implement what you are doing in their very small district, maybe in whatever part of the country, are there opportunities that you provide to them?
Yeah, so we have, see, the space needs multiple entrepreneurs, lot of opportunity. As I said, this is the ocean, but it needs patience, perseverance, people. Three P's are required. You need good people around you. You need a lot of patience. You need perseverance. Keep trying, keep trying. We failed in the last 8 years. Out of 100 things we tried, 80 failed, 20 worked. So be
Mm.
prepared to be more failure, but there's no one to follow. You at least have Recycle to follow to some extent. We have some great learnings. We're happy to help if any entrepreneur wanted to do so. I'm reachable at abhay@recycle.com, RECYKAL. Keep the spelling right. Please reach out. My team will reach out to you and help you wherever we could. Happy to help because this needs multiple entrepreneurs, and this space has an opportunity to create 10 unicorns in next 10 years. Mark my
Wow.
words.
Wow. Thank you so much. On that very positive note, we'll wrap up this conversation, which was supposed to be just for 30 minutes, and we've gone on to almost an hour. Keep doing good, and I'm hoping to meet you in 2025 sooner.
Thanks for having me, Suparna. Thanks a lot.